Hey everyone, so I'm just going to wing this one. This is me doing underneath the bow area where I made an anchor hatch. I'm going to have a drum anchor winch under the deck, so I'm chipping out all the rotten wood. Every time I do something I find 3 other things to do, and then after I do those 3 things, or when I try to do those 3 things, I find another 3 things. The top deck is bonded to the bottom deck, the hull, with the fiberglass cloth tape from a surfboard. I don't think it's sufficient. It's let go in some areas. This is me putting a chamfer on the bottom of the hatch areas because I've got so many hatches. It's taking so much longer to do the floor because I have to do this, and grinding all that stuff is crap. Anyway, this is me showing off my epoxy fillets around the bulkheads underneath the floor. I glue the bulkheads to the floor and then fiberglass the bulkheads to the hull after I put the floor in. The part that I'm working on at the moment is the lowest section of the floor that goes in where the cockpit is. I'm using epoxy resin to glass the bulkheads to the bottom of the floor because I've used epoxy fillets and I didn't want to grind again, so I know it's a little bit more expensive, but it'd be schneisen strong. I'm not sure what I'm doing there. There's lots of little things that you don't see that I've got to do. Oh, actually, this is me trying to figure out how to make my bow thruster support. So I could have done the bow thruster support a million ways. Instead, I chose to use $20 worth of bog, which is not the smartest, but anyway, it got done. I'm using the milling machine to make everything nice and straight, but you can see all the wastage. The milling machine went through this like butter, and it was actually enjoyable for me to do this. I love using the milling machine. It's my favourite. I got it for about $500, I think, from Gumtree. The guy was going to scrap it, and I towed it back with my Nissan Pulsar at the time, and nearly had many accidents because it was so heavy, and the box trailer had a indentation left in it. It was a brand new box trailer. That's how heavy it was. Yeah, I've got to do everything by hand here. It does have auto feed, but I'm not using it at the moment. I was just winging this, just doing it as I went. Oh yep, me just flicking dust into the toolbox area. Gonna have a big clean up once everything's done. Anyway, so I'm glue some wood on the sides of the bow thruster support so I can have something to screw a bracket that holds the bow thruster to the support. Anyway, I'll fiberglass over everything and spend more time on it. Putting a chamfer on this section of the floor now, or a chamfer on the support that holds the hatches. Later down the track I find out that all these real long hatches, they're all bowed, so I've got to figure out a way of getting the bow out of them. I'm thinking once I put the hinges on it'll straighten it out, but I've got a couple of other ideas. It's just a nightmare, everything. Anyway, this is how I'm making, I just scribble by hand and use a jigsaw to cut out around the hatch area, make it nice. It's easier doing it after rather than trying to glue all this stuff together. Just makes it look nicer. This is me routing the hatch support area. Once I paint it and everything, it's going to build it up further, so I took it down a bit. This is doing the floor supports with aluminium, which was way faster. I highly recommend doing it like this. So I make a basic frame, pre-drill all the holes where I want to screw to, and I just tap a thread into the 10mm aluminium. Yes, aluminium, I know, but 10mm, so at least it's easy to drill and tap. And then I weld everything as well, so it's super strong. It's slightly heavier, but it's a million times faster to build the hatch support areas like this. I wish I'd done, and it's neater as well. This sucked. I had to slice down some of the aluminium strip for the toilet area because it's so close to the hull. It's my blade's blunt, so it sucked doing this, and it got hot. If you had a good blade, it wouldn't get that hot. More welding. Me putting the LEDs underneath the floor. This is going to be way easier than doing it afterwards, and it's kind of like a good thing to do in the night time. I test everything as I go. You can join these LED strips together. This is how you do it. I just use a soldering iron and melt the ends of where I want to join it. With my crappy soldering iron with a wrecked tip, because I've been using the soldering iron to melt the glue on the lights. I just glue some little wires in, and I always make sure I do my own joins on everything. I never trust anything that comes from the package. I've learnt this from my previous boats. And then I just use Sikaflex or the mullet version of Sikaflex to glue the LEDs in, and then I'd like cake it around the edges, and around the ends, and I completely submerge the wires in Sikaflex, so there's no chance of water getting into the wires or into any of the joins. I spent ages trying to get all the floor levels level. I probably could have found a lighter straight edge, but this C channel weighs about 40 kilos, and at least it is dead straight. And anyway, this is me gluing the bottom floor area in. I was so excited to get this in because I've waited so long to get any floor in. I thought I would have done this ages ago, but I just keep finding more and more things to do, like I said already. In and out of the boat about a squillion times. before I threw the floor down, I put epoxy on all of the bulkheads that I'd glued previously to the bottom of the floor, so then it squashes into the hull, and then I put the lights on afterwards so I could fiberglass the floor to the stringers and the bulkheads to the hull. With fiberglass, I used epoxy here because I was doing everything on the same day while it's still tacky. It's pretty painful to watch. I used the GoPro to lay it, but the GoPro ended up running out of batteries. You can see how painful it was. I ended up only glassing the easy areas that I could get to. It's like standing on a sheet of concrete. It's that rigid now. It's brilliant. That red thing you can see is one of the inlets from the side tanks going into the center stringer. I made it low enough so I can easily get a shifter on it later if I need to pull it out to seal it better or modify something, or if I wanted to bog it back up later down the track. I'd already used thread sealant to glue the hose barbs into the stringer. I tapped a thread into the fiberglass. It did it real easy and it screws in real nice. But the lights really helped me. I forgot to say, I thought I'd just add that I put reed switches, magnetic reed switches with magnets in the hatch lids and reed switches in the hatch supports before I put it in, so I can, when you open the lid, the lights will automatically turn on. I also flow coated the areas underneath the floor that I knew were going to be a pain in the ass to get to later. The last two pictures here are just showing a closer look at the aluminium strip way of having the hatch supports, which I recommend doing if you're going to put hatches in your floor. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to put another one up real soon.